This is the New York Football Radio Network.
Mike DeBurgis and Jersey Joe Archino here on a Monday afternoon in September, a day after the New York Giants squandered another victory in hand, this time at the hands or the wings of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Joe, you were there yesterday. Certainly a shocking loss for the New York Giants as the season is in peril as they sit at 0-2.
I don't think there's any question about it, and I don't think that you could have a better phrase to say it than Tom Coughlin saying, look, our just overall energy and execution at the end of the games just isn't good enough. I don't think you could say it any better than the way he did.
Yeah, and he really called out the team, too, as well, during the post-game press conference, talking about Prince's coverage of Julio Jones, like, surprise, surprise, and Eli's fumble as well, saying you can't fumble there. You can't make these mistakes. He said, what happened to the offense, and what did happen to the offense?
And that's the amazing thing is I think coming into the season, look, there was a lot of misinformation. I mean, we didn't really know what vibe we were going to have with the Giants. And for the most part, I mean, even Coughlin said, I was going to come into this game and say it was better than it was in week 1 against the Cowboys, but my goodness, when you start 0-2 and now you have a 12% chance of making the playoffs, I think it's all but positives you can walk away from.
Give us a feel of the locker room. You were there last night. You had your report. You followed it for ESPN 104.5. Give us the feel in the locker room afterwards.
I would say, look, there was a lot of questions about, well, Coach Coughlin said you guys have to finish better and you guys have to have better energy later. How do you do that? And there was different answers from everyone. Of course, disappointment all around. I think there's a little nerve from a lot of players. Like Robert Ayers Jr. was talking about, it's so tough being 0-2, and now you've got a Thursday night game right behind this. I mean, just from a physical standpoint, you can't recover that quickly. And now, I mean, you're 0-2. You've got some turmoil now building, and you've got to get ready for this big game on Thursday night. I don't think a lot of the players really want this Thursday night game right now.
And Robert Ayers says we got to bust some heads. Prince Amukamara said basically, we're not doing nothing but hurting ourselves. And early on, I was texting you, Julio Jones was eating up the Giants. They seemed to find the coverage. And in the second half, it's, back to the first quarter again where they couldn't cover Jones, and the Giants defense let them down, and the offense as well let them down in this one.
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing because in that first quarter, it looked like Julio was going to go off. I mean, he had 6 receptions, 44 yards. It looked like they had no answer. Then in the second quarter, they play him very well, 2 catches for 7 yards. After that, though, I mean, I think it all was kind of capped off by the plays he made in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, it just seemed like that inconsistency. I talked to Landon Collins. A lot of people were asking him about that, the communication in the backfield with him, especially with the speed of moving up to the game in the NFL. He was probably one of the players that had the more positive attitude and more upbeat with the energy. But, again, I think he's a young guy, and he's still kind of the game is coming to him, so that might be a part of it. But for the most part, I mean, just that miscommunication, it's just been such a killer for them.
And losing Cromartie Rogers as well, that was a big thing. But look, the Giants defense is in trouble. Only 2 sacks after 2 games. On third down, they've given them 17 of 28 attempts and over 700 yards passing in the first 2 games. So this defense, there's a lot of questions out there.
There absolutely are. And Coach Coughlin said, look, I think his biggest point in the press conference was the reason we lost is because we can't get turnovers right now. And you said it so, I mean, in the Dallas game, no sacks. This game you had 2, but you're not getting meaningful situational plays and you're not getting turnovers right now. When you give them up and you're not getting them, well, that's just a recipe for losing.
And a recipe for losing, let's face it, the Giants, without Victor Cruz, without a true running back, they are a one-pony show on offense. I mean, you got the quarterback Eli, but it's all Odell Beckham. Shane Vereen gave us some nice plays yesterday and has been a nice surprise. We have to admit that. But you know what? Preston Parker and Ruben Randall, could you hold on to the damn ball, please?
Well, I got to ask you this, Mike. One of the things that I did my write-up for ESPN, and I didn't put this in as one of my 5 points, but it's something I think is worth mentioning, is who's the third down guy for the Giants? We saw in the first game against Dallas, how many times did Eli go to Preston Parker? Now, we see all the
you know
time.
what? The Giants don't have that slot guy.
They don't
They
have
don't have
that-
that slot third down kind of Edelman kind of guy.
They don't. And how many times we see Romo go to a guy like Witten or Rodgers have the trust in a guy like Nelson? I don't know if Eli has that right now, and maybe he's trying to develop into chemistry with a guy like that. But when you don't have a dependable guy on third down, you can get the ball to. I mean, let's be honest, it's not Preston Parker. You've got some questions you got to answer.
And things don't get any easier. You got the Redskins coming in here Thursday. Matt Jones out of nowhere, 19 of 123, 2 TDs versus the Rams. And Kirk Cousins, 23 of 27. So the Redskins are no pushover for the Giants on Thursday night.
They're not, and I think Robert Ayers Jr., I'll go back to him for a minute. I mean, we know a lot of players don't like these Thursday night games. I just think when you look at it from ahead, even Coughlin said, we're probably not even going to get a chance to look at the film with the players because that turnaround is so quickly. And I think more than anything, it's getting your body physically ready for that short window to play again. It's extremely difficult, and for the Giants coming off another loss and the Redskins who picked up a win, the momentum's not really on their side.
The only light at the end of the tunnel is that even though the Cowboys are 2-0, they don't have Bryant and they don't have Romo.
And
okay?
the Eagles don't look much
are a
better.
Disaster. So if the Giants could win this thing against the Redskins on Thursday, it's almost like winning 2 games. And I think 7-9, it's not out of the realm of possibility. At 7-9, a team could actually win the NFC East.
I don't disagree. I mean, a lot of people are still holding to the point that, look, Dallas has a great offensive line, but at the same time, you don't know what you're getting from the running game there. You're missing your biggest playmaker on offense, and I don't know if you have another guy who can replace that production. And then Brandon Weeden, I don't know how much faith you have in him. And the Eagles, like you said, disaster.
Disaster.
It's a possibility. Even with the Giants, there have been heartbreakers these last 2. But I still think you can look at these games and say, well, there's some good things to take away from it. If they just finish better, I think they have a chance.
You know what? I just don't think they're very talented. They don't have, they have no John Beeson. They don't have playmakers on defense. They don't have playmakers on offense outside of Odell Beckham. They really have no running game. I think this is who the Giants are.
Look,
they are who they are.
They are who they are. It's a big possibility, and you said on offense, and I think one of the biggest things and why I would have loved to see them hold on to James Jones is you don't have a big guy. You could just send him down the field and go up there and get the ball. You've got smaller guys like Cruz's and Odell's who are great, but you need that big physical guy who can just go down and catch the football.
Joe, whoever decided, whether it was Jerry Reese or Tom Coughlin, to get rid of Jones, they should be fired right away. And let me tell you, they are both on the hot seat. I can see this year as another 5-11, 6-10 kind of season for the Giants, and Coughlin will be gone, and so will Reese.
I mean, there comes a point where when you start. I mean, look, when you start 0-2, we know it. The players know it. They knew what the questions the media was going to ask are. You're 0-2. You have a 12% chance of making the playoffs. What do you think? And I think they're tired of hearing that question, but we have to ask because it's been the same story the last 3 seasons. 0-6, 0-2, 0-2 again. It's a pattern, and it's not a good pattern.
No, it's not. And you can catch more what's happening. Joe's coverage of the New York Giants on ESPN 104.5 and Ian Sachs covering the New York Jets on 104.5. And more what's happening in New York sports on NewYorkSportsMachine.com. I'm Mike DeMurgis. He's Jersey. And I say Jersey, Joe Archino.